Meet Anna. She's from Russia and moved to Serbia 17 years ago. After living in Belgrade, she relocated with her Serbian husband to a small Serbian town where she is now raising 2 kids. She works as a simultaneous interpreter and translates Serbian writers into Russian, including Momo, Kapor and Milorad, Pavić. She shared whether a foreigner can ever truly become a local in Serbia, how life in a small Serbian town changed her, and what Serbs don't understand about Russians at all. Ajmo. Thanks to my local partner Yugotour, Socialist Belgrade by Yugo. Go before it disappears. Book for 3, pay for 2. Code ATIC, link below.
We're in a village that is part of the Užice district. It's called Potpeće. It owes its name to this cave because pećina is cave in Serbian. It's very impressive. It's like the arch is the highest natural arch in a cave in Serbia. I think it's 50 meters. This is like a local site that not too many people know about, but I love it. It's a very convenient stop to make if you're traveling from Belgrade or Novi Sad to Zlatibor or to Montenegro. You can just make a stop here, for a cup of coffee or for lunch to refresh. And you can visit this cave on a walking tour. The tours are every hour from April to, I think, 1st of October or mid-October. Those are guided tours, and that's important because it's easy to get lost in the cave.
And you have table there.
I don't know how people get there.
Šta od onoga šta ti si naučila na fakultetu u Rusiji se pokazalo potpuno netačnim ovde u Srbiji?
Mislim, mi smo imali zaista kvalitetnu nastavu na fakultetu. Sad, da je nešto bilo pogrešno, ne mogu da kažem, ali da se ispostavilo da je nešto u udžbeniku ili na papiru jedno, a u stvarnosti je nešto drugo, naravno da je toga bilo. Kako izgleda svakodnevni život ovde, kako izgleda komunikacija između ljudi ovde. Mi o tome nismo imali pojma. Prvi put kad sam došla ovde, situacija je bila da sam tražila smeštaj. Mislim, opet da se razumemo, booking ne postoji u tom trenutku. Došla sam i našla na netu, nekako sam uspjela da nađem 2 hostela u centru Beograda. Tako da sam imala papirnu mapu i onda sam krenula da tražim te hostele i to se pokazalo kao težak zadatak zato što je to i sada i tada je sve to bilo uglavnom u beogradskim dvorištima. Sad beogradska dvorišta i moskovska dvorišta. Dakle, ta dvorišta funkcionišu drugačije. Ti u Moskvi imaš taj neki prolaz, jer često su to vrlo lepi, onako lučni prolazi i uđeš i tu je dvorište. U Beogradu ti moraš prvo da upadneš u neku zgradu, da prođeš kroz tu zgradu, kroz hodnik, izađeš sa druge strane i dvorište je tamo. Ali ja sve to nisam znala u tom trenutku. I onda idem i tražim i nikako da nađemo te adrese koje sam imala upisane i morala sam da pitam ljude. I onda sam prilazila ljudima i pitala ih. Sad, pošto sam bila lepo vaspitano dete i prvi put pričam sa stvarnim ljudima u Srbiji i jako sam se bojala da ću nešto pogrešiti, da će neko protumačiti da sam nekulturna, tako da sam onu svoju rusku ljubaznost pojačala još 3 puta za svaki slučaj i to je zvučalo kao otprilike: dobar dan, izvinite, molim vas, da li biste bili ljubazni da mi kažete gde se nalazi? Da, i onda su me ljudi nešto čudno gledali. Bilo mi je jasno da nešto radim pogrešno, ali kao šta? I onda već posle nedelju dana provedenih ovde sam shvatila šta sam radila pogrešno, jer to u prirodnom svakodnevnom srpskom ovde zvuči kao izvinite, gde je, a još češće gde je. Znači ta moja konstrukcija ljubazna od 3 sprata, to je samo I za to nas naravno niko nije spremao na fakultetu.
Now we are in the restaurant which called Pećina.
It's called Pećina. It's a fish restaurant. They have their own trouts. Like there's water everywhere, you can hear it, and what they do is they catch the trout and then they prepare it on grill and they serve it. They have a very simple short menu. You can only have fried trout. They have some traditional Serbian pies and they have the drinks like any other place, and they have some locally made juices from raspberries. You can have lunch here, you can enjoy the view, but you need to make a reservation because it gets very crowded in this season.
Wow.
But on the other hand, they're open all year round. So in the winter you can be perfectly alone and it's still beautiful, although a bit cold.
Ta knjiga Momo Kapora, vodič kroz srpski mentalitet.
Yes.
Koja je glavna osobina srpskog mentaliteta za tebe iz ove knjige?
Mogu samo da citiram Kapora koji je rekao, i to je baš, mislim da to piše baš u toj knjizi, da Srbi imaju dva brenda, dva nacionalna brenda. Jedan je kajmak, prehrambeni proizvod, a drugi je inat. I onda na 2-3 strane objašnjava kako se reč inat ne može prevesti na druge jezike, iako postoji u rečnicima i postoji neki prevod, kako je to jedna osobina koju Srbi ispoljavaju na različite načine, u različitim situacijama. Neka osobina koja im je s jedne strane pomogla da opstanu kroz vekove i kroz te neke teške istorijske trenutke, a s druge strane nekad bi rado naudili samim sebi iz inata prema neprijatelju ili prema onom drugom.
Kako bi objasnila inat strancu?
Inat je u neku ruku jedna vrsta tvrdoglavosti. Ali to nije tvrdoglavost kao hoću nešto po svaku cenu, nije tvrdoglavost kao upornost, nego tvrdoglavost kao ja sad stojim na svome, insistiram na svome i neću više nazad, znači neću da odustanem, neću da se predam, ali sam već u međuvremenu zaboravio zašto. Nego da isteram inat, postoji ta sintagma terati inat. To je ono što sam rekla kad bi neki Srbin bio rad nauditi samom sebi iz inata. Tu postoji jedan vic koji Kapor citira u tom eseju, a kaže da je pokušavao jednom Amerikancu da objasni šta je inat, pa je pokušao preko vica. Naime, jednom davno bio je neki stranac, istraživač srpskog folklora, etnograf, koji je prošao ove krajeve i vrlo dobro upoznao mentalitet. I posle mnogo godina vratio se na ovaj prostor i sreo nekog seljaka i sad priča sa njim i želi da vidi da li se nešto promenilo u međuvremenu. I na kraju razgovora ga pita je li dalje najviše na svetu želite da komšiji crkne krava? Taj kaže ne, želim da meni crkne krava. Tebi, zašto? Kaže pa da vidimo od koga će gospođe Mileva da kupuje mleko.
This is the main square in Požega, the main and the only square that Požega has. The town was founded by an order from Prince Miloš Obrenović. He was born in one of the villages in this region, that's why. And he decided that a town needed to be built here because, it's a flat place surrounded by several rivers. He sent a person, like an urbanist, we would call him today. It wasn't a densely populated area at the time. So what that urbanist, or let's say architect, did, he found a spot on that even surface and he marked that spot with a branch or something, and then he took a long rope, and he made a circle around that place. And that was officially the center of the new town of Požega. And that's why they made this square round.
Do you think living in a small town in Serbia somehow changed you?
When I moved here, I had this feeling that I was going through the adaptation crisis. I felt very much adapted and in my place in Belgrade. And I felt that I belonged in Serbia and that I was getting the country perfectly. And then when I moved here, the lifestyle was so much different. And by that, I don't only mean the differences between Belgrade and small towns, I also mean that I got a Serbian family. As a foreigner living in Belgrade, I could enjoy, this kind of freedom that on the one hand, I can speak the language and I have Serbian friends and I was part of, let's say, the literary community in Belgrade. But on the other hand, whenever there was a holiday or something, I could just travel. I could choose to either celebrate it or not. And then when you're part of a family system, either in Russia or in Serbia or in some third country, you just have these
duties and you have a lot of expectations to meet. You would like to say, oh, I just want to travel and to go away for Easter, or I don't want to celebrate my Slava this year, but you have to because there's a whole set of expectations.
So it was the process of adjusting for you. What have you learned during this process about Serbia?
I think that I realized all over again how much the community is important and how much Serbia is a community-based society. Because in Belgrade, you can sometimes feel that it's just like any other European city, which has this urban vibe, which has very different people pouring from many different places. But when you move to a smaller place, like you really realize how much these community ties are important, and there are pros to it and there are cons to it. On the one hand, it involves very much interaction even when you don't really want it. On the other hand, you get this community support back when you need it.
Yeah.
And that's how things have been working in this society for centuries. I think that many foreigners who come from much bigger environments don't instantly get when they move here. From my experience, it takes a lot of adjustments to really be able to be part of this society in this sense and to be hopefully able to enjoy it.
These houses just across the street, they're privately owned. I just love them. You know, it's an example of how you can bring old heritage back to life. I don't know if someone bought them or inherited them, but they're privately owned and they've been beautifully rebuilt with a lot of taste, with a lot of money invested. You can see it. And I wish the rest of the town would be like it.
How do people treat you here, as local or as a foreigner?
I mean, I will always be a foreigner here. I'm convinced that Serbia is a very comfortable country for foreigners to live in, because there are stereotypes and there are expectations, that's right, but it's quite easy to be accepted as a foreigner in Serbia. Especially if you speak the language, if you make effort to speak the language, people appreciate it very much. So on the one hand, I've always felt very much accepted in Serbia, to the extent that back in Belgrade, I was hosting poetry events dedicated to poetry in Serbian with my accent and with my Russian origin, and nobody ever questioned like why. Why do you grant yourself the right to be talking about Serbian poetry in Serbian? Why didn't you try to, partnership with some local or whatnot? So that was a sign to me of how much foreigners can be accepted in Serbia. On the other hand, especially in small communities, you will always be distinguished by your differences. It's not about being Russian or, being Chinese or whatnot. For some funny reason, I don't know what it is exactly, people here function in this way. If there's some distinguishing feature, it can be the color of your skin, it can be if you're very tall. Also, unlike, for instance, Vojvodina, the northern, the multi-ethnic part of Serbia, this is a very, let's say, uniform Serbian community. There are not so many families which are not Serbian. So again, I have a feeling that it's a bit more difficult to feel like a local here.
And here is the town gallery, and I'm showing it to you. Well, it's closed now because it's weekend, but this is where I go to the local choir. I sing in a local choir, but I would say a quality one.
And what songs do you sing?
They're mostly in Serbian. They're a combination of some, let's say, religious songs, some old Yugoslav evergreen melodies, some folk melodies. They're actually a nice mixture of everything.
What do you think do Serbs completely don't understand about Russians who came here in the latest wave?
I think the biggest problem is the expectations. On the one hand, it feels, or at least it used to feel, very nice being Russian in Serbia, because somehow you feel that you're welcome just because you're Russian. Like, even if you don't know anything about Serbia, even if you hadn't known anything before you came here, somehow you feel welcome just for the fact that you come from a certain country. On the other hand, there's this big myth about Russia and Russians that lives in the Serbian people. And it's really hard to live up to those expectations, especially if they expect you to be perfect. They expect you to be moral, they expect you to be orthodox and a big believer, they expect you to be open, they expect you to be smiley, friendly, and then it's really just unrealistic. But it comes from this memory of certain historical moments, which is a big thing. And again, it's all intertwined. There are positive and negative things just all together, and somehow you just live with it. I don't feel comfortable driving in Belgrade. Because I passed my exam there and I used to drive in Belgrade, but not every day. So I gained my experience here, and I really feel insecure when I have to drive through Belgrade. What I don't like about how people drive in Serbia is that they don't use the lights when they want to turn.
They're not signaling.
They're not signaling, yeah, and then I can't read their minds. That frustrates me a lot of times, but overall, it's not bad. I believe I could never drive in Moscow.
Back to Russians who came here, I would like to ask you, do you feel that there is a problem of socialization now?
Well, yes, there is a problem of socializing and of how to bring these two communities together. With all that much talk about, how our nations are similar or maybe not, and how Serbia is really interested in keeping these people here, these educated, ambitious young people in this country. On the one hand, I have the feeling that Russian people who have come here in the recent years are really making a lot of effort to understand this country. That might be the kind of folks that I have communication with. They're making effort to travel, to get to know what this country has to offer, to learn the language, to learn about the traditions and the holidays and so on. On the other hand, I have this impression that this interaction doesn't go much deeper. Maybe it's just simply unrealistic to expect such things to happen in 3 to 4 years, especially given the drastic change that those people have been going through. My feeling is that after 3 years, things are somehow stabilizing, that many people have moved somewhere else. But on the other hand, many people have started feeling like it's new home and they can build a life here. So maybe that's a good starting point to further learn the language and to somehow try to get integrated in this community. And I think there is a lot of interaction that happens in cafes, both Russian and Serbian.
And bars.
Cafes, bars, yeah, well, probably some fitness clubs. It doesn't happen easily, naturally, because we, as 30 something people, we all have our jobs and many of us have families to care for and we have other responsibilities. And it's really not easy to just dedicate your time to socializing. And this popular myth that you go out to a kafane and you just meet Serbian people and you make friends with them, to me, it doesn't exactly work like this because, yes, Serbian people are very friendly. On the other hand, they have their own community. Most of us living in one country, we have a community of school friends. It's difficult to kind of make friends, not just acquaintances, but friends when you're 30-something. I believe that these ties will somehow grow over time.
Do you have any ideas for socializing?
My biggest passion is literature. So I was thinking, and that's probably something that I'm going to organize in some period of time. 100 years ago, when all the white Russian immigrants came to the Balkans,
They also had lots of things like Russian shops and Russian magazines and Russian ballet studios and whatnot. And they also had poetry readings in Russian, but they also had poetry readings for Russian and Serbian poets together. And at one of those readings, the famous Serbian poet Desanka Maksimović met her future husband, Sergei Slastikov, who was a Russian immigrant. They got married and they lived a very happy life, and Desanka translated Russian poetry for the rest of her life. And she was friends with Anna Akhmatova. And Anna Akhmatova translated Serbian poetry into Russian thanks to Desanka Maksimović. And then Joseph Brodsky translated Serbian poetry into Russian thanks to Anna Akhmatova, thanks to Desanka Maksimović, to Sergei Slastikov, and to something that just happened because there were people from both communities interested in interacting with the other side in some way. So why not? I would love to organize something like that.
Koje bi 3 knjige ti bi preporučila za strance da bi oni razumeli Srbiju dobro?
Mislim, nekako želim da ne skliznem u neke preporuke koje su opšta mesta, ali mislim da se ne može zaobići Ivo Andrić nikako.
Da.
I tu neću biti originalna, znači zaista na Drini i Ćuprije. Apsolutni, mislim, po proceni međunarodne zajednice, neki vrhunac jugoslovenske ili srpske književnosti. Vrlo kvalitetan roman, a pored toga, mislim, kad već pričamo o mentalitetu, opet objašnjava i istorijski kako je funkcionisao ovaj prostor, pošto za one koji nisu čitali, glavni junak je, pod znacima navoda, je most koji zaista i dan danas postoji u Višegradu na reci Drini, koji je bio svedok više epoha i dolaska Turaka i života pod Turcima i dolaska Austro-Ugarske i oslobodilačkog pokreta u Srbiji i tako dalje. Šta bi moglo da bude drugo? Mislim, nekako, ajde, bit ću subjektivna. Ja recimo sada čitam Svetlanu Velmar Janković i volim je. Ona mnogo više priča o porodičnoj istoriji i o tome kako neke traume, istorijske traume iz nečeg djetinjstva utiču na pojedince. Ona je bila beogradski pisac i bukvalno sve što je napisala je smešteno u Beogradu. 3. knjiga je posebna. Nije prevedena na ruski, mislim da nije ni na engleski. To je roman koji je vrlo jednostavan za čitanje, mislim pod uslovom da dovoljno razumete jezik. Zove se Sahib od autora Nenada Veličkovića. To je epistolarni roman koji je smešten u Sarajevo iz perioda rata i napisan je u prvom licu, piše ga navodno predstavnik mirovne misije u Bosni koji je stranac, koji dolazi u Sarajevo i koji šalje pismo, odnosno mailove svom ljubavniku, svom partneru. Dakle, on je gej, dolazi u ratno Sarajevo, gde ništa mu nije jasno na tom Balkanu, pa još u situaciji rata gde je nastao još veći haos.
Šta misliš, da li je srpski jezik više muzikalan nego ruski jezik?
Jeste. Mislim, nije samo subjektivni utisak, nego postoji razlog, odnosno obrazloženje zašto je to tako. Jer ruski, ono što se tiče akcentovanja, ruski ima takozvani dinamički akcent. To znači da mesto akcenta određuje, znači koji slog, E sad, u srpskom jeziku, kao što znaš, to funkcioniše malo drugačije. Postoje 4 vrste akcenta, zavisno od intonacije, jer intonacija može da bude silazna, može da bude uzlazna. Pored toga, samoglasnici mogu da se izgovaraju kratko ili dugo. I onda postoji kratko silazna intonacija, dugo silazna intonacija, kratko uzlazna i dugo uzlazna. I to utiče, da, i to čini jezik mnogo, što kažeš, melodičnijim ili pevljivijim. Ali s druge strane, u mom kontekstu, za poeziju je, odnosno za prevođenje poezije je malo nezgodno, Mislim, dosta i srpskih autora je pisalo o tome da je srpski nezgodan za evropsku versifikaciju, za evropsko rimovanje, za evropski metar i to je u jednom istorijskom periodu, konkretno u 19. veku, zahtevalo baš dosta prilagođavanja. Sad ja kao prevodilac, kada prevodim poeziju sa srpskog na ruski, uvek mučim tu muku.
Šta srpska književnost govori o Srbima, ono što sami Srbi ne znaju o sebi?
Ne verujem da Srbi to ne znaju o sebi, ali srpska književnost definitivno govori da su Srbi jedan narod bogatog duha, duhovit narod, što srpski jezik kaže. I tu ima baš dosta crnog humora. Nešto što me oduševljava, ali vidiš, nisam nekako razmišljala o tome u kontekstu srpske književnosti, nego više u kontekstu jugoslovenske i srpske kinematografije. Taj nekako spoj smešnog i tragičnog, ali tragičnog da je baš crno. I kako to zna da bude spojeno na jednom malom prostoru, za mene je to zaista obeležje jugoslovenske, odnosno srpske kulture. To je itekako prisutno u kinematografiji, prisutno je u pozorišnoj umetnosti, prisutno je itekako i u književnosti. To kad nekako delo te tera da se smeješ, da se grohotom smeješ i onda da plačeš sledećeg trenutka ili bar da zastaneš, da ostaneš bez daha zato što se tu desi nešto crno i strašno i potresno.
Da.
I mislim da je to vrlo simptomatično. Sad, da li to Srbi znaju o sebi, u suštini u kontaktu sa drugim narodima, da. Često sam nailazila na neke reakcije svojih poznanika Srba kada oni shvataju da nije svaki srpski vic za pričanje u društvu stranaca zato što će nešto biti previše za one druge, ali sad da li su svesni da je to toliko neraskidivo povezano i da se to baš toliko prožima u životu ovde u svakodnevici? Možda ne do te mere jer im je prirodno.